It's here. The pre-launch campaign for the Florida Man Kickstarter. Florida Man RPG is an original TTRPG based on some of my favorite games, characters, and of course the viral insanity that is Florida. And this ain't a supplement. 6 ability scores, 10 playable species, 10 classes, 30 subclasses, 12 backgrounds, a full list of alignments, deities, feats, weapons, vehicles. Florida Man RPG will be completed using only human art and input. I've recently partnered with the fantastically talented Thatch Durbin. His role, in addition to awesome illustrations, will be bringing my Florida Man RPG vision to life. I've been cultivating a small team of creatives to put this thing together, and we're ready to get started. So why the GoFundMe? The pre-launch will provide the necessary capital used to commission the art and design for the upcoming Kickstarter campaign. It'll also cover short-term production and prep costs, assets, printing quotes, marketing. Finally, this funding will also help pay bills and keep the lights on while I devote my full time to the project. And if you do decide to donate, you get some pretty cool stuff. Your name on a special acknowledgement page in the book, early access to images and playtest materials, and my eternal gratitude. And maybe some kind of Florida blessing or something. No promises. Check out the link in the description. It's got all the information that's there. It's got that really cool original art piece by Thatch. Remember, sometimes the best stories don't happen in dungeons. They happen at the gas station. Thanks for listening, and thanks for believing in the project. Let's make something completely unhinged.
We're back, everybody, after 2 weeks. Thank you for showing up on time and on target. And I hope you like what I've done with the stream. I've added transitions. I've added a piratey background. Yes, this is the deck. Well, not the deck. This is the captain's quarters of the Enduring Endeavor, my pirate ship. Let's welcome all of our chatters. We have Kirk, Jim, Ron, Crimson Honda. Everybody, welcome in. Welcome in. It took me all of last week to do this and figure it out, and I am so glad that I did, because it's something new. And it's a change, and hopefully it'll skyrocket us. This is Rogue Bard Advice, a D&D TTRPG, sports, archaeology, everything all rolled into one nerdcast. And I am your host. You may know me as the Pirate Archaeologist. You may know me as the Rogue Pirate Archaeologist. You may even know me as Captain Bartholomew Bones McCoy. But I am also a Chris. Thank you all for joining us on this 23rd episode of Rogue Bard Advice. How is everybody doing today? How is everybody doing this week? I know somebody didn't paint his minis. Yes, that is going to be a thing, Kirk. You're on the poll. Are you on the poll? Thank you, Jim. Thank you. We are on a. We have reverb. Let me turn this down. How's that? No, probably not. Let me mess with this one. We got reverb now? I don't know. Hopefully not. Notice animated start screen with split for your fedora and crossbones logo. That's not the only change, Kirk. Yeah. Reverb during Yaz intro. I sounded fine. Okay. Yeah, I think there was a mix up when I was doing the recording for that. So, it'll be reverbing. But yeah, as you guys noticed in the commercial, because that's what I'm going to call it. It's a plug, but it's also a commercial. Yazik has started a GoFundMe for the Kickstarter for Florida Man, the Florida Man RPG that he is creating. Yeah, I've had backstage insights into it and everything, and it is I want to play. I really want to get into it and play, but we need help funding. He needs help funding it so he can, like he said, keep the lights on at his house and maybe keep his house. So with that being said, we're gonna roll right into some things, and we're gonna show you what the new Rogue Bard Advice looks like. We're going straight into Archaeology Corner because it's something that's near and dear to my heart, me being an archaeologist, but most importantly, the Vada Voluntarana annual field school kicked off earlier this week, and they have done wonders. And notice the transition, and I'm still here. Look at that. This is what Vada is doing right now. They are continuing the excavation that we started, 2022? As you guys remember, I was there. I that's exactly where I was at, doing this excavation. But the interesting part about this is after week 1. You notice that thing in the lower left. That is the bottom portion of one of those amphora vases that I showed you guys beginning of this podcast. The interesting thing about that amphora base is it has Vesuvian ash embedded on it. Yeah, from Mount Vesuvius. So that's cool. That's interesting. I like it. Thank you, Kirk. Thank you. Oh, you're gonna, if you love this, you're gonna love what's coming. Just because I've done some things, and hopefully it will just get better. But we're also going to go into, so that's what Vada's doing. That's only after week 1, and now they're here for another 2 weeks. So maybe I'll get updates on what they do next week. Maybe not. I don't know. I follow them on Instagram, so I should. So hopefully. Moving right along into our art corner. We have an art corner tonight. Yay! We have an art corner. No, we don't have an art corner. But this is a transition. So I didn't put anything in for the art corner today. But this is where the art corner would go. Yeah, I'll go through all the slides and tell you all about them. Since we don't have an art corner, let's go into question 1. Question 1. Howdy, Rogue Bardadians. Follow-up to the character death house rule question. This is our first... is this our first follow-up or our second follow-up question? Regardless. Follow-up to the character death house rule question from a few podcasts ago. Thank you, Gray, for that question. When a player's character is permanently dead and they have to roll up a new character, do you make them start over at level 1? Or do they get to come back at their previous level? Or something in between? Thank you, Ron, for this question. Ron shot out this follow-up question for me, and thank you for that, Ron. So I typically like to have them, if I'm doing like I said, and their character dies and their character's dead, and they light their character sheet on fire and toss it in the waste bin, then they're starting over at level 1. Now, it's up to the party to help them get to where they're at, but that shouldn't be too bad. Typically, higher level characters, if they're a higher level character and they die, then yeah, sometimes I'll skirt my own house rules and say, okay, draw up another character at this level and do that. Or draw up another character but at a level 2 or 3 levels less than what the party is. It's my goal to have the party do all the role playing to build the new character up to where they are, up to their level. So I hope that answers your question, Ron. Now, here's something that I have been wanting to try out because I have transitions and everything else involved here. But what I want to see is, let's go to question 2. Because it shouldn't change. It should just change the question. Haha, look at that. This question comes from our good friend over in the UK, Bacon. And she writes to me, a friend from the USA just recently sent me a picture of a can of Campbell's soup as a funny haha moment. For context, the soup was cream of bacon. My question is this: why can't I get all the weird and different flavors of Campbell's soup here in the UK? Bacon. Well, Bacon, I am glad you asked me this question, and I actually had to do some research on this. And the reason that you can't get the weird flavors that we have over here is because in 2009, Campbell's Soup lost the rights, or the company they were partnered with in the UK lost the rights to the what's it called? It's naming rights. It's not naming rights, but it's patent rights, I guess. I guess that's what it is. But they got it back 5 years later or so, but not with the same company, with a different company. However, the big thing is market preferences. UK shoppers lean towards brands and flavors that reflect British tastes. Heinz tomato, Baxter Scotch broth, or traditional soup pot varieties. Campbell's UK tailors its range to what sells consistently. Regulatory and labeling differences. Some U.S. recipes rely on ingredients or additives, higher sodium, different preservatives that demand extra testing or relabeling to meet EU, UK standards. It's not often worth the expense for a niche flavor. Distribution and shelf space costs. Supermarkets optimize shelf space. If a variant doesn't move quickly, it's dropped. Importing small batches of exotic flavors drives up per can costs, making them non-competitive on the shelf. Yeah, it's all hogwash. You should be able to get whatever Campbell's soup you want, but according to them, they're not doing that. So I hope, it's because of UK standards. Let's see what's the chat saying. It should depend on whether it's XP or milestone and where the party is at. If the party is in the abyss, maybe forcing level 1 is something I wouldn't do. Exactly. Typically when a character does something so totally, utterly stupid that they off themselves or get offed by one of the baddies, it's not because they weren't high enough level, it's because they weren't high enough level. Or they did something stupid and shot themselves in the foot with a hand crossbow or something. I don't know. But yeah, in a case where it's a low level party and they're doing something, I'll drop them down to level 1 and they can start over. But if they're, like I said, if they're a higher level party doing a higher level campaign and they do something like that, then they roll up another character. Like I said, maybe if they roll well enough, if they build the character well enough, maybe I'll start them at the level they left at, or as a consequence for dying, they drop a level or so. But yeah, that's back to the other question. But yes, it is also probably because UK has health standards on why they don't have these flavors. Like, there is cream. I was at Publix yesterday. Not only is there cream of bacon, There is cream of shrimp. There is spicy, fiery something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's weird flavors of soups lately. And I even found weirder flavors of soups. Let me pull up this article because I is No, I didn't want that. Why did it go there? No, go back to. Well, sure, yeah. Well, we'll do that. No, I wanted. Let's see. Can I find it on my bookmarks and lists? Reading list. Show my reading list. This one. Okay. So this is discontinued canned Campbell's soups we wish would make a comeback. And this article was posted September 20th, 2024. Now, some of these soups I have never heard of. And if you've heard of any of these soups, please let me know because they seem interesting, to say the least. Some recipes are worth committing to memory. Nope. Why is that? No. I didn't want that. It changed the article for me. Since its founding in 1869, the Campbell's Soup Company has launched many notable or quirky, though usually delicious soup flavors, like mock turtle and oxtail. It has also pulled these and other soups off the shelves, never to be seen again, and if recent company news offers any clues about the direction that some of the company's soups will take in the future, the practice of tossing soup flavors into the proverbial trash kettle won't go away anytime soon. On September 10th of last year, Campbell's decided was going to remove soup from its iconic name. It's now just Campbell's condensed whatever, or Campbell's whatever. But the first soup they discontinued was mock turtle. Despite being inspired by a once luxury food, Campbell's mock turtle soup eventually passed into extinction. An irony considering that actual turtles nearly went extinct due to being a staple ingredient in turtle soup. Not mock turtle soup, though, just regular turtle soup. From the mid-19th and early 20th centuries, society's upper crust had developed such a taste for turtle soup that the diamondback terrapins became endangered. It was only prohibition, yes, that prohibition, and the invention of mock turtle soup that pulled terrapins back from the brink. This had less to do with saving turtles and more to do with preventing people from pouring sherry into their turtle soup. But nonetheless, it worked. So, mock turtle soup. Now, how do you get mock turtle soup, you ask? Well, that's a fine question, and it's answered here. It's all made of beef or cow, but it's cow head, feet, and other pieces of meat and offal, O-F-F-A-L. Apparently, the texture and consistency of these ingredients mimic turtle meat. And by the early part of the 20th century, Campbell's threw its can into the ring in order to lap up some of the sales it would surely get from offering such a cheechy item. So, mock turtle soup. The second soup on the list is Scotch broth soup, aka Scotch barley soup. It's been satisfying hungry bellies since at least the mid-1700s. Typically made from mutton or lamb, as well as a plethora of vegetables like celery, carrots, onions, turnips, and even raisins. In some of the oldest iterations of the soup, Scotch broth soup was a favorite among Campbell's soup eaters. One of the soup's most ardent fans claimed that they ate it for more than 40 years. That's the kind of staying power this soup had. That makes you want to try Scotch broth soup. I mean, just the mutton or lamb and vegetables, celery, carrots, onions. That sounds delicious to me. Next on our list is oyster stew. It's kind of like clam chowder, but it's oysters. It was discontinued in September 2012. It was a creamy soup similar to mushroom soup except with oysters. And possibly due to the myth that oysters cure hangovers. The creamy soup plus a little lemon juice became the remedy of choice for some who had over-imbibed. In June of 2012, just months before Campbell's pulled oyster stew off the shelves, it had voluntarily recalled its 10.5-ounce cans due to worries about the concoction being made with Korean oysters. At the time, Korean oysters, there were concerns over the pollution levels the oysters were subjected to. But not saying that Campbell's actually made their soup with Korean oysters. They just didn't want the connotation or the connection. Our next soup is green pea. Lovers of Campbell's split pea with ham and bacon soup might think that soup offers a good substitute for the brand's discontinued green pea soup. However, the ingredient that likely makes split pea soup fans love it is probably also the reason why its detractors long for Campbell's green pea soup to return. With ingredients like split peas, water, salt, flour, and sugar, plus a bit of onion and celery extract and butter, it lacked meat, making it a great soup for the vegetarian soup fan. And then pepper pot. If soups were capable of being sad at being discontinued, at least Campbell's pepper pot soup could take consolidation in effect and had a good run before its demise. It was a fan favorite for 100 years, and it was suddenly pulled from the shelves in 2010. Then the chunky Philly cheesesteak from Campbell's Chunky line was discontinued. Oxtail soup was discontinued. This one, I don't even know why they made it. But they did. Hot dog bean soup. Nope. Not for me. Did you guys know that Campbell's also made K-Cups? For those coffee drinkers who could not get enough of chicken noodle soup flavoring in their coffee. And there was a Keurig freaking Campbell's soup coffee cups. But they were discontinued in 2014. And apparently they weren't even coffee, it was mini soups. But it's still made with your Keurig. And that's it. Those are all the discontinued soups. Well, not all of them, just some of them. But I do hope that someday, some way, shape, or form, Bacon does get her can of cream of bacon soup. Scotch broth better than chicken noodle? Absolutely, Ron. It sounds phenomenal. Remember, Buccaneers, if you wish to find the treasure of fandom or mock turtle soup, there's a thumbs up and subscribe button. Yes, please. Please. Like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification button. Get notifications. If you're not in on the Discord, if you're in on the Discord, you get the notifications yourself. But yeah, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for that. Reminder to everybody. Mac and cheese with pork and beans and chopped up hot dogs. Is that hot dog bean soup? I mean, Jim's heard of oxtail soup. Never had it though. I have never heard of any of these soups and green pea. I've heard of green pea soup. I even remember the green pea soup on the Campbell shelves, but I have never heard of the others. Scotch broth was made for haggis and Yorkshire pudding. Nice! Did not know that, Ruby. Thank you for that. Thank you for that at all. Well, Bacon, I hope that answers your question on why you don't get the different flavors of Campbell's soup in the UK. Moving right along, we have 8 questions tonight, and a surprising turn of events in our Deadly Dungeon. But we are only on question 2. So, moving on to question 3. Wonder who it comes from. I think it's Kirk. On the roguish side, was there ever an actual Robin Hood? Is it just a recent British invention? Or have there been Robin Hood-like figures throughout history? Thank you, Kirk, for this question. I really had to think about it because a lot of things throughout history do have a twist of, or a lot of things in fantasy do have a little twist of historical accuracy. Now, to answer your question, is it just a recent British invention? The earliest mentions of Robin Hood appeared in ballads from the 14th and 15th centuries, portraying him as a yeoman who defied corrupt officials and lived in Sherwood Forest. 14th and 15th centuries. However, several historical figures have been proposed as inspirations for Robin Hood. The first being of Robert Hodd of Yorkshire, an outlaw mentioned in a 13th century court record. Then you also had Roger Godbird, a 13th century rebel who clashed with the Sheriff of Nottingham and was later pardoned. And then finally you have Robin de Deville, a supporter of Simon de Montfort, who became an outlaw after Montfort's defeat. And then, of course, you've got mythical interpretations. Some scholars suggest Robin Hood may have originated as a folklore figure, possibly linked to forest spirits or pagan traditions. His association with green clothing and woodland settings supports this theory. And the name Robin Hood may have been a generic alias used by various outlaws over time, much like Billy the Kid in the American West. Now, as to the evolution of the legend, over the centuries, Robin Hood was romanticized into a nobleman wronged by authority, loyal to King Richard the Lionheart, and in love with Maid Marian, none of which appear in the earliest ballads. His role as a champion of the poor, robbing the rich to give to the poor, became prominent in later retellings, especially during times of social unrest. So was there a real Robin Hood? Maybe not one man, but rather a composite of historical outlaws, folk heroes, and cultural ideals. The truth may be murky, but the legend's power is crystal clear. No real Robin Hood, but possibly based on a composite of multiple different people. But definitely not a recent British invention, unless you consider the 13th century recent. Teeny is in. She made it to the pod. Though I'm surprised that she made it into the pod because she had went out to a free concert and drinks. And the last I talked to her, she had a $15 margarita in her hand. So, yeah. Nothing like the movies or cartoons, though. He's in amalgam like King Arthur. Yep. Oxtail for the islands like jerk chicken in Guinea. Pepper pot 2, oxtail soup, Jamaica. Look, I've never had oxtail. I don't know what it tastes like. I'll try anything once, twice if I like it, 3 times just to make sure. We all know King Arthur is based on Charlemagne. Could be. I have a poem that I found when I was in high school. And let me see if I can find it so I can... let's see here. The poem, dang it. So I set up, if I hit enter on something, it goes back to question 1, apparently, because question 1 is set up for that. But let's go back to this. So the poem is called On the Vanity of Earthly Greatness by Arthur Guterman. Or Guterman. And it goes a little something like this. The tusks that clashed in mighty brawls of mastodons are billiard balls. The sword of Charlemagne the Just is ferric oxide, known as rust. The grizzly bear whose potent hug was feared by all is now a rug. And great Caesar's head is on the shelf, and I don't feel quite well myself. One of my very favorite poems I found in one of my English books in high school. So, I like it. I like it a lot. Hey, that's art. That poems are art, right? Could that have been an art corner? Maybe. Poor people got oxtail to boil, rich the rest of the ox. If done properly, very tasty tender meat. Okay. I think the Arthurian legend is older than Charlemagne. There are definitely similarities. I mean, other than Disney's animated Fox Robin Hood, I know several ladies who will fight before accepting that's made up. Lewis Carroll run ? Huh? What time is it? How long have we been going? Hey, we've been going a half hour. We're only on question 3. We got to move it right along. Going on to question 4. Lycanthropy. Should it be curable or not, or both? Why, how, what for, does it matter? Now, this question has been in the Discord questions for a long time, and this comes from our good long lost friend we haven't seen in over a year, Avram Krovax, and I just threw it in there because I didn't have any other questions at the time. So, with that being said, let's go on to it. Lycanthropy, whether it's seen as a supernatural curse or a primal gift, poses a rich question for storytellers and world builders. Can it be cured? Should it? And does the very possibility of a cure shift its narrative weight? Most mythic traditions, like lycanthropy, is infectious, a bite or a blood rite, and tied to magic or spirit forces, so a cure must match that power source, whether it's by purification, which is led by druids or clerics, bloodletting, or silver-forged talisman that sever the curse's bond. You got alchemical or scientific approaches, elixirs distilled from wolfsbane, wolf silver, or moonlit dew, viral vector therapies, and then psycho-spiritual healing, guided dream journeys to confront the inner wolf, spirit binding ceremonies that integrate the beast rather than banish it. Should it be curable? In favor of cure, it restores agency and human choice, highlights the redemption and restoration arcs of your campaigns. In favor of embrace, do you want to explore it more? It explores the identity, what makes us human, delivers raw power, dramatic tension, and moral ambiguity. So look, I'm always a proponent for curing stuff if the individual who has lycanthropy, if they want the cure. But if they don't want the cure, then it's kind of like Ian McClellan's character Magneto in X3. Would the cure be forced upon you? Will the people trying to force their cure for lycanthropy draw the first blood? It has to be something willing. To me, if you want a cure, if you want to take the cure for lycanthropy, It has to be taken willingly. But should it be cured? Who knows? If you want to place it in your campaign that you're looking for a cure for lycanthropy, by all means, go for it. I think having lycanthropic characters in the game gives a more nuance to the game, gives more avenues for storytelling, gives more avenues for fights among the party, but it invites chaos, but it invites organized chaos. So take that with you. Take that what you will. Bacon, you missed your question. You missed your question. But that's okay. You can watch it later. Hi, Bacon. Welcome in. No, the poem I recited, Ron, was let's see. Arthur. It looks like Guitar Man. Guiterman. So it's Guterman. Arthur Guterman. You're not late, Bacon. You're a wizard, and wizards are never late. They only arrive exactly when they mean to. Some lycanthropes don't know why they're lycanthropes. They just black out and wake up in strange places. Absolutely. It should depend upon the curse of it and if it's considered a curse, disease, enchantment, or blessing. Yeah, but if it is either one of those and the character still wants to have the cure, they should have the right free will to do that. Bacons are never late. They are just crispier. Oh. Crimson Honda, I have a character with lycanthropy, but was born with it. Not really sure how to actually add it to my D&D campaign. There really isn't any official way to add it. Crimson, there is official way to add it. It's called house rules. You wake up one day and say, "Oh, by the way, guys, yeah, I was born with lycanthropy." It's kind of like it's kind of like being born a vampire, where your mother got bit by a werewolf and the lycanthropy passed on to you while you were in her womb because she was pregnant with you when she got bit. It kind of goes along the storyline of Blade. If you, I mean, yeah, you were born with lycanthropy, but make it something like, yeah, you were born with lycanthropy, but you're not, you're immune to silver or something. That's a phenomenal idea because Blade's mother was pregnant with him when she got bit, and the vampirism transferred into him before he was born. But yet he's immune to the sunlight stuff. He's immune to getting poofed by the sunlight, and not poofed in the shiny, glittery manner that Twilight does. I'm talking about being consumed in the all fire that is the sun. Just what happens when you're born on the full moon. Could. Absolutely, Ron. Could. Well, I hope everybody got a question or got an answer out of that. I know Avram's not here, but I wanted to fill some time up. So, does that make you a dog walker instead of a day walker? Oh, depends on what lycanthropy you have, Bacon. Depends on what lycanthropy you have, because as we all know, there are many different forms of lycanthropy. It's not just wolves. You could have you could be a rat lycanthrope. You could be a wereboar, a were-rat, a were-bear, a were-cat, a werewolf. I mean, anything. Maybe that. No, 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 Jim. Maybe they're born with it, or maybe it's lycanthropy. You got to stick with the theme. You got to stick with the theme. But I do like that. That's what happens when your birthday falls on a full moon. Yeah, you turn into your werewolf and you go on a hunt. I don't know. That's for you guys to figure out. Moving right along to question number 5. And it comes from Kirk again. And this one Kirk sent late only because I asked him to. He didn't do it on purpose. I asked him to. So there are countless movies about intricate heists of valuable artwork from museums. But have there been any similar heists of archaeological artifacts from a museum? If not, what is a famous artifact about which someone should draw up a heist movie plot? This had me going for a while, Kirk. I had to go down some weird rabbit holes. But here is what I found out. Did you know in January of this year there was a heist of 4 priceless Romanian artifacts in the Netherlands, in the Drents Museum in Assen? The helmet of Poiana Cotofinesti, circa 450 BC, a 2,500-year-old gold helmet decorated with protective eyes and mythical beasts. 3 Dacian royal gold spiral bracelets, circa 50 BC, bearing intricate animal and geometric motifs. The raid took minutes and remains largely unsolved. The artifacts are national treasures of Romania, steeped in Dacian lore and craftsmanship. That was the first one I found. The second one, in 1980, Moundville Native American vessel heist. In June of 1980, looters broke into the Erskine Ramsey Archaeological Repository at the University of Alabama's Moundville site and stole 264 prehistoric Native American vessels dating from 1000 to 1450 AD. These high-quality ceremonial pots featured winged serpents, skull motifs, and divas of the underworld. Valued at about $1 million in 1980, that's roughly $3 million today. The theft remained cold until 3 vessels resurfaced in 2018. The crime wiped out around 70% of the museum's exhibit quality collection. Perfect fodder for decades spanning recovery thriller with FBI intrigue and dark Southern Gothic atmosphere. So there's your movie plot right there. The third heist happened in 2000, the Scythian gold heist at the Hermitage. On December 28, 2000, a group of 8 thieves pulled off one of the greatest museum raids in Russia's history. Dressed as opera singers, they gained entry to St. Peter's Hermitage Museum, then overpowered guards and fled with 21 pieces of Scythian gold from the 4th to the 3rd centuries BC. The loot included plaques and pictorials depicting horses, griffins, and warriors. Scythian art that blends Greek naturalism with steppe mythology. Thieves sold much of the booty to London dealers. Only half the pieces were ever recovered. The sophistication, Cold War era politics, and mystical aura of Scythian craftsmanship could make this a crime globe-trotting cat-and-mouse cinematic ride. You got the Dresden Green Vault break-in in 2019. And if you're looking for something more fictionalized, you could consider King Nebuchadnezzar's jeweled processional standard, a 2,500-year-old Babylonian staff that once paraded through the Ishtar Gate ceremonies. Anyway, that's just some of them. So yes, there have been heists of archaeological artifacts and recent heists of archaeological artifacts from museums and collections and stuff like that. It actually is fairly common that artifacts are stolen. Matter of fact, recently in a military museum, I want to say in New Jersey or Delaware or somewhere on the East Coast. Kirk, mate, no more. There was a man who stole a Vietnam era 1911 from a display at a military museum. So, but yeah, absolutely. What if you're a lawyer? What if you're lycanthropy, or are those vampires? Those are sharks. And why don't sharks eat lawyers? Professional courtesy. Feral dog ambulance chaser. Okay, I like that. I like that too. There have been such movies. Yes, there have. Absolutely, there have. Wolf cop movies are just about that. Opera singers, fun. I wish they were doing it to return heritage items rather than going for money. Well. I got locked in the Hermitage for over an hour once. Actually quite impressed anyone stole anything from there. You were in the Hermitage in Russia? Nice. I want to go, but I'm American, so I'll probably get scooped up by the FSB. British museums. Ron saying something. I won't get it here yet. Oh wait, yes I will. Live chat, and I'll get it. British museums are stuffed with stolen artifacts. The Nazis looted most of Europe, etc. Yes, but the Nazis looting Europe looted from private collections, not necessarily all from museums. There still is at least one pane of the 7-pane painting from the cathedral somewhere that the Nazis stole that has not been recovered ever. I'll get more information on it and let you guys know that that's one that's still out there. People are trying to find it. People are also trying to find the painting, The Sea of Galilee, that was stolen from the Boston Museum of Art in 1989? Somebody fact check me on that. 1989. Two guys walked in dressed as Bostonian police officers to do a random check, and they walked out, and nobody knew the painting was missing for 24 hours later, something like that. Hermitage is an amazing place. You got trying to pull off the heist then, Bacon? It wasn't her, honest. I don't know. I didn't think somebody would see cream of bacon soup in the middle of the aisle at Publix, but there it was. Bacon doth protest. All right, everybody. We're moving on to question 6. Question 6 is... Now, this one also have been in my email for a while now, and I'm just finally getting to it. This comes from our formerly departed from the Discord, and from here, our formerly departed friend River. And he asked me what my favorite metallic dragon was. My favorite metallic dragon. If I have to go metallic dragons, it's either going to be a gold dragon or a copper dragon. That's either a cone of fire or a line of fire. That's what I got. So I like the fire breathers. I don't like the poison spitters. I don't like the ice breathers. I like the fire breathers. So red, gold, copper. Yeah. Ron's favorite is a rust dragon. It was 1990 for Boston. I was 1 year off, Bacon. 1 year off. Seventh Pane shows Jesus talking with flying saucer aliens. Will never be seen by public. Kirk doth protest that he is a pseudoscience person. But I've got homework for y'all. In the Discord, if you guys have joined the Discord, I want you guys to answer this question. In the Discord, what is your favorite metallic dragon? And I may showcase them on next week's show. But we have to be moving right along because we still have 2 questions and we have our final match of this season's Deadly Dungeon before we start next season's Deadly Dungeon. And I hope you guys like the Deadly Dungeon stuff. I really do. I have another list of versus battles that was sent to me by River, but if you guys want to include something in there, please send me your list of who you would like to see fight who. By the way, while we're on that subject, you know what? We are going to go back to the live scene. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. So, before we get on to the next 2 questions, I want to take this moment to say last Friday, the charity thing that was supposed to happen last Friday didn't happen last Friday. It happened last Saturday. And we raised neighborhood of $500 to $1,000 for our good friend over on the TikTok Defiant Cupcake. And we've raised. I got word today that we raised enough that she could pay her her housing bill for the place she's staying for the next month. There's still a lot more to do. So, but they're also talking that next month she can go home. So that's good. And I can definitively say, in Wizards spell shots against humanity, where we use the white cards as our spells and we have to take a shot, I can tell you this. Pirates do, in fact, beat knights hand down. I wiped the floor with a good friend of mine, Chalmers Deluxe over on the Twitch and Chalmers on the TikTok. He also cosplays as a full-fledged knight in armor with a big black plume on his helmet, and he is known as Lord Astor. And this pirate, Captain Bartholomew Bones McCoy, bested him in spell shots. But I didn't just best him once. I bested him twice because he ended up getting placed into the finals round, which was against me and Papa Popo, or Popo Blanco. And I got second place. Let's just leave it at that. I got second place, and I don't remember the rest of the evening. Yep. Though the rum wasn't gone, the vodka was gone, but the rum wasn't gone. But with that being said, Dungeon Challengers are helping me learn more about D&D. Okay. Le Discord. I love how you did that in French, Bacon. I love that. Yes, but do you know which one breathes sleeping gas? Is that for the dragons? Because I want to say it's either gray or a black dragon that breathes sleeping gas. So if a Pirates versus Knights bracket ever occurs, we know which way to go. A Pirates ninjas freaking came through. But we didn't have Knights, did we? We will find out because we'll have that bracket up here shortly. But with that being said, it's a brass dragon. Okay. Thank you for that. I did not know that. It was fun on the rewatch. Yes, it was. And please ignore the last 40 minutes of it somehow. The last 10 minutes of if you rewatch it, if you go over to Twitch and you go to Military Fox, PHAUXX, and watch it there. They streamed it over on Twitch. They also streamed it on Popo Popo or on Popo Popo Plays. But Military Fox's stream is where you can see the whole 4 hours and something of the game. Ignore the last 10 minutes where I just get up and walk away. I was out of it. I don't remember that. So, but moving right along, we're going to question. Was that question 7 or 8? Or was that question 6 or 7? Well, let's just see. Let's go to 7. What is my favorite flavor of milkshake? We win on that. My favorite flavor of milkshake happens to be any flavor milkshake. I like milkshakes. But my ultimate favorite flavor of milkshake would probably have to be Butterfinger milkshake from Steak and Shake. Second, maybe tied, is a Thin Mint milkshake. So, yeah, you're learning more about me. I did go on an adventure. I went on an adventure. And I woke up after drawing myself a bath in the tub. Californium dragon, very mellow, hangs out on the seashores, likes surfing. Likes the kelp, right? Likes the kelp. Okay, so that's my favorite milkshake. If you guys want, you guys can post in the Discord. What's your favorite milkshake? Make it something interesting. Don't be vanilla and choose chocolate. You like what I did there? Ha 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 ha. Our last question of the evening. Now this question, the next question, before I start, this next question is really not a question. It was, and I modified it, and I asked it myself because I wanted to know. You have to come back to the States, Bacon. We'll go to Steak and Shake, and I'll get you a Butterfinger milkshake. How's that? But anyway, back to question 8. So this question harks back to, it's sort of a follow-up. It harkens back to the question of the dodecahedron dice and whether or not I thought it was used in Roman TTRPG. So I asked this question of myself. And I got myself an answer. I did some research. Apparently, there were games, not necessarily TTRPG, but there were civilizations that played games that share some D&D with role-playing games. In ancient Greeks, you had dramatic festivals like the city Dionysia featured actors embodying gods and heroes, improvising dialogue and interacting with the audience, kind of like plays. Mesopotamian Egyptian priests consulted oracles that cast lots were early dice, to determine divine will, effectively playing role as intermediaries between humans and gods. You had ancient board games with symbolic narratives. You had Senet, in Egypt, circa 3500 BCE. Often tied to a voyage to the afterlife, players moved their tokens on a celestial map, symbolizing spiritual progress. Then you have Patia from Greece, a strategic stone placement game, usually framed as representing warring armies or political maneuvering. Strategic game. Then you had Ludus Leruncololum from Rome, called the Game of Mercenaries. It pitted soldiers against one another on a grid, inviting players to imagine battlefield command. You put players on a grid. If they're whole human players on a grid, then isn't that LARPing? So, yes. No scrolls, tablets, or inscriptions outline rules for multi-session character-driven collaborative storytelling, because there's an absence of record for that. Widespread literacy and free time required for sustained rules-heavy gaming emerged much later in human history. They didn't have the time, and they were illiterate for the most part. And oral traditions sufficed. Societies relied on oral epic recreations or recitations, theater, and ritual drama to explore character and choice without codified mechanics. So while there's no historical or ancient TTRPG that we could play, we're happy playing with what we've got. There were other games that they did play that were similar in form but not in function. The earliest TTRPG, everyone knows it, is Chainmail in 1971, produced by Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin. And then in 74, D&D was formally characterized, classes, hit points, magic systems, and the game Master Roll, launching TTRPG genre, the genre as we know it today. So, with that being said, I need that open one more. I just need to minimize it or move it up here. With that being said, we are going to run into our deadly dungeon. How's that, everybody? We're almost through the evening. We are almost here. Now, if you guys remember correctly, our daily dungeon, and I have set this up differently too. So, let's go to our deadly dungeon. What is this week's deadly dungeon? You guys voted for it. You guys got it. It's Bender versus Azathoth. By the way, when you guys see this, do you guys like how I have set this up? Because this is pretty awesome. What can't Ruby have anymore? B-52 Bomber Milkshake. November. Yes, November. Chocolate chip and or hot fudge milkshake. Bacon, not November. November's only going to be a day. And I got to fly back on Sunday morning. So let's focus for May. How's May grab you? That raises the question of which the first critical hit was rolled. Look, you want to ask that question? I'll do the research on it, but send it in. Peanut butter milkshake. Love peanut butter milkshake. Not fair. Ron can't have those anymore. I never should have had them. Milkshakes or peanut butter milkshakes? Or B-52 Bomber milkshakes? I think so. I think their RPGs were more plays or religious politics, or they played dice cards. They played dice. They played cards. They played early forms of dominoes. Yeah, games have been played all throughout history. Milkshake, I'm a boring traditionalist, old dude, chocolate malted. Look, you can put chocolate malted with Thin Mint ice cream and seltzer water. You're golden. Chocolate peanut butter from the dairy, from Kawartha Dairy Only. A lot more than I thought. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling up. I missed chat. Kahlua, Bailey's Irish Cream, and Orange Liqueur. B-52 Bomber Milkshake. Nice. There were worse simulation games prior to Chainmail, though. I think they started in France. Looks good. It's so fancy. Yes. Bender has Toon Force. He wins. Look. I am highly surprised at you guys. I did not vote in this week, so it's straight up you guys. Good pacing to go through 8 questions. Thank you. Next May, then. Yes, next May. The milkshake has alcohol, and Ruby is allergic to alcohol. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe Ruby can have a Shirley Temple B-52 bomber. A simulated B-52 bomber. Anyway, moving right along. Yes, this week's deadly dungeon is Bender versus Azathoth. How do you guys like that? How do you guys like this setup? Like, I used Federation script for Bender's name, and I used the Jurassic Park script for Azathoth's name. I think it looks phenomenal. This is what I was saying. Surprises abound throughout this whole thing tonight. But last week on the Deadly Dungeon. No, you know what? I'm not even going to do that yet. I'm not going to go there yet. I am going to give you guys the what's fors. What happens when Bender and Azathoth meet up? Well, we already know that we already know their combatant profiles. We know Bender's steel body plating grants him high resistance to physical attacks. He's got a built-in flamethrower out his butt, capable of sustained fire against organic foes. He's got extendable arms, hidden blades, and internal compartments for improvised weapons. His self-repair protocols allow reassembly after severe damage, provided he has fuel. And his weakness, he has an alcohol-powered core, performance dips when sober, and his detachable heads and joints can be targeted. Azathoth, primordial entity at the center of all creation, whose mere presence shreds sanity. Reality warping aura that dissolves physical and metaphysical laws within its proximity. Cannot be harmed by conventional weapons. Resists linear attacks. Madness aura disrupts opponents. Coordination and tactics. Weaknesses: its unfocused omnipotence. Its chaotic nature sometimes creates exploitable rifts in reality. Both fighters enter a neutral void-like arena where neither can call reinforcements. Bender aims to use hit-and-run flamethrower strikes, leveraging self-repair downtime, and targets Azathoth's reality rifts. Azathoth relies on the ever-shifting aura of madness. Reality folds to crush metal and uncontrolled spurts of chaotic energy. Now, this is where it gets interesting because you guys polled very, very well for this. And that's not supposed to do that. That's supposed to be a different transition. There's something going on here. Results of last week's Discord poll. Bender versus Azathoth. It was a 50-50 split. Well, you guys know we don't go by my simulations numbers. So my simulation, after 100 battle simulations that I ran, Azathoth won 85% of the time. Madness Aura overwhelmed Bender's CPU logic, causing erratic combat behavior. Reality folds around the metal plating, crushing robotic limbs before Bender can react. Even self-repair cycles are disrupted by chaotic energy surges. Now, however, Bender did manage to sneak out 15 wins. And with unexpected medical fatigue, Azathoth's local form allowed Bender to jam reality folds with concentrated flamethrower butt blasts. Targeting an ephemeral rift, Bender forces Azathoth to briefly manifest a physical opponent, then decapitates and lobotomizes the projection. Bender's unpredictable tactics and improvisation exploit rare lapses in Azathoth's reality control. However, it still was not enough to have Bender in the simulation overcome Azathoth. But, as you guys know, we do not go by what my simulation is. We go by what you guys have voted. And you guys voted. That's what it's supposed to do, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly what it's supposed to do this whole time. I have to change that. So, if you guys notice here, we do not have a definitive winner. It's a tie between Bender Rodriguez, the bending robot, and the Azathoth, the deranged god. It's a 50-50 split. So, with that being said, we're going to have another go-around in the poll, in the Discord for this week, for you guys to decide, once and for all, who do you guys want to move on to Season 2, or 3, or whenever we get back around to our finalists battling it out for supremacy. Do you want Azathoth or do you want Bender? I will put it in the poll. Next week, however, there will be another Deadly Dungeon next week. And it is going to be the first Deadly Dungeon of Season 2's Deadly Dungeons. And next week, it's going to be, and that's got to change too, it's going to be the Thieves Guild versus La Cosa Nostra. Now, I shouldn't have to say anything more about that. Y'all know who La Cosa Nostra is. Y'all know who the Thieves Guild is. So, when I put it in the poll, when I put it in the Discord, please vote. Let's do this. Something's happening in chat. I just saw Bacon laughing out loud. Let's see here. Looks great, fonts and everything. Bender has Toon Force. He wins. Good pacing. Yeah, we saw that. We had those. Can a sanity attack work against an insane adversary? Well, you know, they do have this game, Phasmophobia, that you have to take sanity medication in order to keep from going insane. So, yeah, I'll allow it. I'll allow a sanity attack, yeah. There's no account of Azeroth encountering alcohol. If it consumes Bender, it will die of alcohol poisoning due to being a lightweight. I like it, Kirk. I like it. I like it. Hey, guess what, guys? We've made it to the end of the stream. Though it's not the end of the stream. We're still in chat.
Gamers, it's here. The pre-launch campaign for the Florida Man Kickstarter.
Sorry,
Florida Man
I wanna
RPG
go
is
here.
an original TTRPG based on some of my favorite games, characters.
I want to go here. So, let's talk good things of the week, people. Good thing of the week for me. I got word from Mohila, which is the servicer of my student loans, to finally tell me that yes, they did get my discharge notifications for my total and permanent disability discharge of my student loans from Nelnet, and that my loans, I no longer owe anything on my loans. I have a zero loan balance with Mohila. So that's a good thing. terrible things that happened this week, and probably should have done this at the beginning of the show, but didn't think about it because we wanted to get the show rolling. Thoughts and prayers go out to the families in Texas who have lost loved ones and children and everything from the flooding that occurred, the once in a 100-year flood that occurred in the Guadalupe River. Yeah, it's not good. So yeah, but the Rogue Bard Advice family sends thoughts and prayers out to those families, and not only to those families, but to also the families in Reducio, New Mexico, who are also going through a once in a 100-year flooding event. There's a military family out of Fort Bliss. I do not know them personally. I just recently heard about them. They were up in Ruidoso camping over the 4th of July weekend, and the mother and father are in critical condition at the hospital, and their children were taken in the flooding in Ruidoso. So, thoughts and prayers go out to them. But yeah, that's it's been a rough week for those families in Texas. So, with that being said, and I don't want to diminish that, but let's end the stream on some good notes, on some highs. Don't want to get everybody, don't want to keep everybody down. Let's bring everybody up. So I'm gonna read out what's going on in the chat. Don't mind voting, just hate Discord, so I forget to go there and do it. Okay. Woo woo, very nice. My good thing of the week is rendered moot. What was your good thing of the week, Kirk? It's nothing's rendered moot. Your good thing of the week is not moot. We care about your good thing of the week. Toronto is due for one. They keep reminding us it is so horrible for all. It absolutely is. There's been some horribly sad stories. Absolutely, Bacon. Yes, there have been. No good things. 2 new lumps have on colleges. Oh, Ruby. So sorry to hear that. So sorry to hear that. And then Crimson Honda pipes in with he's only got three days of work next week. No. You get to go into work 5 days a week, or you're grounded, sir. I grounded Kirk because he's not been painting his minis. You get grounded too. By the way, Kirk, I hope you have seen something that Gray had posted in the Discord channel under something. Was it under the potential questions for Rogue Bard Advice? Anyway, somebody 3D printed skulls to glue on the top of their paint caps and painted the skulls with the paint from the bottle to see how the paint looks, what the paint does, how the paint feels on the surface. I think that's an awesome idea. I like that. Hoping for the best, Ruby. So sorry to hear that. Yes. Got a new portable AC unit delivered. Going to try and install it tonight. It's a little late to try and install anything. It's 11 o'clock on the East Coast. So, cannot eat the bacon. Bacon's not a lie. I've met the bacon. Bacon is not a lie. Gray's post was fun, but then I'd have to paint my paint. Color-coded skulls is awesome. Not sure what they are, but being calcified, not good. But it's up at trailer now. Okay. Yes, sending thoughts and everything Ruby's way. She absolutely deserves all of our comfort with everything she's going through, everything she's gone through. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Teeny. We are awesome. Anyway, hey, guess what? We have 2 more slides to show you guys. I did say I was going through everything, right? With that being said, we are coming to the end. And guess what? I have a slide for that. And that slide does come with the original music for the show. It's the sped up version of the music. If you guys remember the entrance to the show, it's a slowed down version of this. I think it drives more drama. But with that being said, please join us next week for Road Barred by Samuel Channel. Saying Road Bart, I have been your host, and I will continue to be your host, the Pirate Archaeologist, Bartholomew College before. And with that, I can wish you all a very and a lovely weekend. See you guys next week. And one more slide. Good night, Road Bardadians.